Direct Connection is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you. Live from Maryland Public Television, this is Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Good evening. Welcome to your Direct Connection. Coming up, the common heart condition that millions of people don't know they have. That's ahead. First tonight, we connect you with the mayor of Ocean City, now the playground of the rich and famous after a visit from Michael Jordan over the weekend. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being with us. Looks like a beautiful night there, and I know the celebrity and a lot of other people were in town for the White Marlin Open.
Yes. Hey, Jeff, how are you? It's great to be on again. And what a beautiful spot here down at the inlet in Ocean City.
How was the tournament over the weekend? So we know you had a headliner. How did it go?
Yeah, we did. You know, the White Marlin Open started last Monday. It's actually Monday through Friday, and the boats get to fish 3 out of the 5 days. We had 403 entries in the Open this year, the largest turnout ever. About $6.2 million in prize money. It's the largest billfish tournament in the world. Also one of the most environmentally friendly tournaments in the world. About 99% of the fish that are caught are actually released. So it's a very popular event, and as you kind of gave in the entry, we get a lot of people here that are part of that. Yes, Michael Jordan did have his boat here, Catch 23, and he fished in the tournament. Emma Lagasse fished in the tournament. It's become, you know, a world-renowned tournament. So it's a big week for Ocean City. They bring all the fish into the White Marlin to Harbor Island at 14th Street for the weigh-ins, and thousands of people come down every night to watch and join in on the festivities. So it's a really big week in Ocean City.
Of course, the Chamber of Commerce says that it's always sunny and warm in the summer in Ocean City, but you were telling me you've really had one of those summers where the weather's been really cooperative.
It has. You know, the last couple of years, last year in particular, we experienced an awful lot of rain, particularly on weekends, which was unfortunate. But this year, the sun came out and it just stayed out, and the weather's been absolutely fantastic. And our visitors have responded. I think we're going to have a record summer this year as far as the number of visitors that come to Ocean City. And I'm not getting any complaints, so that means all the businesses are happy and the visitors are happy as well. So it's just been one of those really special summers so far here in Ocean City.
One thing I noticed looking at that beautiful view of the water in the sky behind you is that I don't see any big wind turbines out there. And I know that's been controversial, the idea of harvesting wind energy, which obviously is green energy. But from the standpoint of Ocean City, there's some concerns about that.
There is. We support the projects. You know, we think clean energy, green energy is important. It's important to our future. We're just trying to move them out a little bit further. When these were first introduced or talked about, they were about 250 feet tall. Now they're up to 850 feet tall, which makes a dramatic difference as far as visibility is concerned. And what you're looking at now is a pristine view behind me and a shoreline and a view that's just totally unobstructed. And that's what we'd like to see remain. So we're just hoping we're able to push them out a little bit further so they don't affect this beautiful view that you see behind me, but at the same time have the ability to supply the energy that everybody's looking for.
Where does the project stand? I mean, what levels of government approval are needed? Where do you think you can have some influence?
Well, there still are some parts of the approval process that they must go through. The lease area has been designated, and the lease area would allow them to build wind turbines as close as 12 miles from the beach from Ocean City. We'd like to see them about 26 miles off of our coastline. Right now, they're in the approval stages. I think we're going to go back, hopefully, to the Public Service Commission, have an opportunity to talk to them about this lease area. They still have to get final approvals and their compliance plan through BOEM, which is the Bureau of Ocean Management. So there's still some steps along the way. We're hoping to be part of the process, hoping to play a positive role in that process. We'd like to see a wind turbine project that really could be a poster child for all turbine projects that are being proposed across this country, and have one that works for everybody.
Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question for the mayor of Ocean City about wind turbines, saltwater taffy, French fries, whatever's on your mind, give us a call. We'll have the number up on the screen. You can also email us a question for the mayor. The email address is livequestions@mpt.org. Mr. Mayor, I was out in Western Maryland this summer, where they do have windmills all over the place, and from Deep Creek Lake, you can't miss them, but it doesn't really seem to harm the experience. How would it be different in Ocean City if, standing where you're standing at the inlet, you could see some wind turbines turning out there?
Well, I think that, again, if you look at that view that's totally unobstructed, you can see how pristine and beautiful that is. And you know, they're proposing in the project in this area, or right off our shoreline, about 78 wind turbines, which is a large number of these massive structures. And again, we just like to see it move to a little bit further to the east, so that they don't affect that view. If you get up early in the morning and you go up to the boardwalk or out on the beach tomorrow in Ocean City, you're going to see thousands of people all along the ocean front, getting up early, up on their balconies, out on the beach, watching that sunrise over the ocean. And we'd like to preserve that and allow them to continually getting up and viewing that unobstructed view. You know, that's just something that once it's changed, it'll be changed forever. And we really hope that we're able to make some progress in at least being able to preserve that, while at the same time supporting the projects that I know have been approved from the state to create additional energy for the state of Maryland.
Ocean City, of course, was a big supporter of the move to have schools in Maryland start after Labor Day, which of course is coming up. That was originally an executive order from the governor. The legislature has now given school districts the flexibility to, again, start whenever they want. Talk about the impact of the initial change and what you see ahead.
Well, it had a significant impact. That last week or so in Ocean City, we'd become used to looking at license plates from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and other areas other than Maryland. And the last couple years, particularly last year, as this became something people were getting used to, we saw that number of Marylanders visiting Ocean City during that time period with their families increase dramatically. And, you know, talk about tradition. You know, being here for that time right before Labor Day and right up till Labor Day has been a tradition Marylanders have enjoyed for as long as I can remember, and I've been coming to Ocean City since the 60s. So, you know, we thought it was extremely important. Yes, now the legislature did make some changes, but, you know, so far most of the counties are sticking with the Start School After Labor Day program. And if they continue to do that, it'll continue to give the opportunities for Maryland to enjoy vacationing with their families, and large numbers of them coming to Ocean City. So we hope it continues. We hope that week continues to be a week that Marylanders have an opportunity to come here and visit, and we welcome them with open arms.
You were just re-elected last fall to another term as mayor. Anything different, or what was your platform looking ahead to the next 4 years?
You know, I think my platform has always been that, you know, we have to be progressive. We have to rely on tradition. We have to rely on what Ocean City really stands for and what has made Ocean City a great resort area. But at the same time, we always have to be open to new ideas. And, you know, times are changing. They change dramatically, and they change very fast. And I think we have to be able to keep up with those changes. We have to remain contemporary. We have to be open to new ideas. And I think that's the basis for which our government operates. And we try very hard to make sure that we continue to provide what people are looking for, but at the same time, continue to look ahead, to be prepared, not only to face new challenges, but also to face new trends that, you know, as I said, change every year in this country today.
Let's take a call from a little bit further up the shore there in Kent County. This is Ken. Ken, thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Yes, Mayor, I wondered if you've been keeping abreast of the Bay Bridge crossing study that's being held by the Maryland Department of Transportation. I'm calling from Kent County, and that may have bearing on this. One of the corridors is from Dundalk across our county to, if you draw a straight line from Dundalk East, it's in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Not to front load the question too much, but have you taken a position on the Bay Bridge crossing study at all?
Ken, before you go, is there anybody in Kent County who likes the idea of putting the bridge there? All right, we'll get the mayor on that. So does Ocean City have a view on whether there should be another crossing and where it should point?
We believe that if you look at the traffic on the Bay Bridge and you look at exactly what we're going to be experiencing this fall when they have to do maintenance on the bridge, the numbers of cars that are crossing that bridge increase, every year. And we can certainly see where additional access to the Eastern Shore is necessary. But as far as where it's located, I'm going to yield to the local government and to those areas because they're the ones that are immediately and dramatically affected. And I support their positions in that regard. We'd like to see additional crossings at some point in time, but we really believe that those local jurisdictions that are really going to be faced with where that where it comes ashore, whether on the east side or west side of the bridge, we really think they're the ones that need to weigh in on that.
Let's talk to Kay in Baltimore City. Kay, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hi. I have a comment, and that is I live in Baltimore. I haven't been to Ocean City in a few years.
Yes, ma'am.
But I would not like to see big wind turbines if I'm vacationing at the ocean.
Thank you very much. And Mayor, that's music to your ears, I guess.
Well, I think it shows that there is sentiment out there for, and concern for that type of change. And again, I think if we all work together, we can facilitate that and make it a positive for everybody. So, we're not looking to obstruct this. We're looking to be part of a solution just to make it work for everybody.
Email question from one of our viewers. Why doesn't Ocean City have any type of recycling service? So I'll let you talk about that. But I've also read that you're working with some restaurant operators on reducing the amount of plastic that they're using.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have time to get into it like I'd like to, but what I can tell everybody is the fact that we collect all of our trash. It's taken to one central location here in Ocean City, and then it's shipped or picked up and actually transported to a facility where it's burned to create energy. So what we've done is we've eliminated the need for excessive production in our landfill. We've created a system where we think it really benefits everybody. It allows us to continue, it allows us to save some dollars as well to continue other projects, to clean this beach every night, which I think many people are familiar with, so that plastics and other material aren't going out into our ocean. It allows us to continue to work on runoff going into the bay to protect our bayside waterways. It allows us to go ahead and have citywide pickups for free in the spring and the fall, where we pick up all materials, including hazardous materials, to keep them out of the waste stream, out of the public areas. I mean, we work very diligently on trying to protect our waterways, protect our shoreline. We have found that type of, we call, although it's not traditional recycling does work for us. And what we're also looking at is source reduction. And Jeff, what you mentioned is the local business community, the Chamber of Commerce and the city working together to eliminate the use of plastics, to eliminate the use of plastic straws, eventually plastic bags and some of these other things, because we know how important that is to our environment. And really, the big way to do this is through source reduction.
Rick Meehan is the mayor of Ocean City. Sir, thanks for the time. Hope it's a busy Labor Day there.
Thank you, Jeff. It's going to be a great end of the summer. I know summer just keeps going. We thank you for the opportunity and welcome everybody to visit us here at the beach.
Thank you, sir. And coming up in our health segment tonight, understanding AFib. We'll be right back.
Got an unused vehicle going nowhere? Donate it to the one place that can take you any place. Visit mpt.org/vehicles and support the programs you love on MPT.
The MPT app puts our programs right at your fingertips, so you can choose when to watch, what to watch, wherever you want to watch it. Download it now.
Are you turning 70 and a half this year? If so, you generally have to start spending down your retirement account. Even the minimum distribution can place you in a sticky situation. Luckily, you can now use your IRA to make tax-free gifts. Gifts up to $100,000 will never count as income, but always make a difference. That's icing on the cake.
Make your gift for this year before December 31st. Visit mpt.org/support.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
In tonight's Your Health segment, Dr. Seemant Chaturvedi, professor of neurology at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, director of the stroke program for the University of Maryland Medical System. Doctor, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
We want to focus on AFib, which is atrial fibrillation. Big words. What does that mean?
Atrial fibrillation refers to an abnormal heartbeat. And so in the normal heart, there's an upper chamber called the atrium and a lower chamber called the ventricle. And there's supposed to be a coordinated signal from the upper chamber to the lower chamber. And in atrial fibrillation, instead of being coordinated, it's very chaotic. And so you can imagine that if there was an on-ramp to a highway, one car should get on at a time. But imagine what would happen if 10 cars tried to get on at one time. Things would be pretty chaotic. And so that's somewhat of an analogy to atrial fibrillation, that the beating of the upper chamber is not well coordinated and a lot of different signals are trying to get through.
I understand millions of people have this, and some of them don't know they have it.
That's correct. Currently in the United States, there are about 3 million people who have AFib, and but there are other patients who don't know that they have it. And one important thing is that you may have heard that there are 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day. And so AFib is strongly linked with the aging of the population, and so there are projections that the number of patients with AFib is going to double in the coming decades.
The people who have it don't know they have it. Are they ignoring something, or are there no symptoms?
Sometimes there can be symptoms, and for example, the normal heart rate is 60 to 100, but with AFib, sometimes the heart rate can become quite rapid. It could become 150, maybe even 175. And so if it starts to become rapid, patients may develop a fluttering in their chest. They may feel short of breath. They may have palpitations. They may feel excessively fatigued. And so those are some of the potential symptoms. But then there are other patients who don't really have any symptoms, and yet they go in and out of AFib. So they may have it for 5 minutes or half an hour, and then their heart goes back to a normal rhythm. And so those cases are some of the ones where it's less well detected.
And it's important to know because the irregular heartbeat comes along with a risk of stroke.
Correct.
What's the connection?
Yeah, so when the upper chamber of the heart is not beating properly, and if it's not coordinating with the lower chamber, then if the blood just sits there, you can imagine like a stagnant pool of water. And so when the blood just sits there, it's more likely to form a clot. And then if those clots get dislodged, they can travel up to the brain and block the blood flow to the brain, and that can lead to a potentially very serious stroke.
And I've read it tends to be among the most serious kinds of strokes.
Yes, the blood clots from atrial fibrillation, they tend to lodge in like some of the bigger blood vessels leading up to the brain, and so because of that, the corresponding strokes that they can cause tend to be larger on the whole, and that can be associated with higher rates of disability and even death following a stroke.
So what should people be aware of here?
So there are several things. Number one, if you've been diagnosed with atrial fibrillation, you need to know what are some of the potential hazards. And so the potential hazards are sort of in two categories. One relates to the heart, because if the heartbeat is going too fast, as I said, it can cause shortness of breath, it can lead to heart failure. And then the other major hazard is the risk of stroke. And so it's very important that patients who know that they have AFib, that they be put on blood thinners, especially if they're higher risk for stroke. And so they need to discuss with their physician or their cardiologist whether it's appropriate for them to be on blood thinners, because blood thinners are extremely effective at reducing the risk of stroke, and yet they're still very underutilized across the country. There have been studies that only about 40 to 50% of the people with AFib who should be on blood thinners are actually getting them in the real world.
Why would they not be getting them? Because they haven't seen a provider, or there's an issue with there being a risk of being on the blood thinner?
There are several potential reasons. One is that they may not see a physician regularly, but another one is that sometimes the communication between the physician and the patient is not optimal. And sometimes the physician may think that aspirin is sufficient for AFib because aspirin is a fairly weak blood thinner. But the studies clearly show that aspirin is not really that effective for preventing stroke with AFib, and that's why you need to be on stronger blood thinners such as warfarin, or there are some newer medications these days such as dabigatran, apixaban, rivaroxaban. Those are some of the medications.
And the people that unfortunately wind up in your care at the various hospitals having suffered a stroke, you see people who could have been helped by one of those drugs.
Yes, that's something which is very heartbreaking to all neurologists probably across the country when we see somebody come in with a large stroke with atrial fibrillation, when we think that it could have easily been prevented if they had been on proper blood thinning medication.
Let's take a phone call. Carroll County, this is Jim. Jim, thank you for the call. Go ahead. Jim, are you there?
Yes,
What's
I'm
your question?
Thank you. I'm 79 years old, have been treated for AFib for 6 years roughly. I'm taking Multac, Vanexit, and Eliquis for controlling the occasional AFib. I'm considering RF ablation. How effective is that, and does the AFib usually come back?
Jim, great question. Best of luck, sir. Thank you for the phone call.
Yeah, so what the caller was referring to is something called cardiac ablation. And so some cardiologists who specialize in abnormal heart rhythms, they can do a procedure where they try to zap the tissue which is causing the abnormal firing. And zap is not a technical term, but that's the goal of the ablation, is to try to eradicate the area which is firing abnormally, and then hopefully you can prevent the AFib from reoccurring. And it's fairly successful. It can help in terms of relieving symptoms such as shortness of breath, but in some patients it can come back after the ablation procedure. So in general, about 5 years after the ablation, maybe 30% of the AFib has come back.
Mike on the line from Cecil County. Mike, thank you for calling. What's your question?
How is there a relationship between AFib and exercise?
Interesting.
Like cardiovascular, on the treadmill, etc.
Mike, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question because there's more and more research about how lifestyle changes can reduce your risk of AFib. And AFib can be linked with a number of conditions, including obesity, sleep apnea, hypertension. And so if somebody exercises regularly, and especially if they're able to lose some weight, that could be helpful in decreasing the number of episodes of AFib they have and what's referred to as the overall AFib burden.
What about coffee? We once talked about some link between people who have these gigantic cups of high-strength coffee and an AFib episode.
Yeah, regular consumption of coffee, like the average person, if they have, like, say, 2 to 4 cups a day, that's probably not a major contributor. But on the other hand, as you said, if somebody has like a large slug of energy drink with a lot of stimulants, that can definitely trigger abnormal heartbeats and also a rapid heartbeat.
Let's get to a quick call from Prince George's County. This is Oaken. Thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Yes.
Your question.
Question is, what kind of blood pressure medicine should we avoid? Because some of the blood pressure prescription medicine causes AFib.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Is that the case?
Some blood pressure medications can actually be useful for controlling the heart rate. And so, for example, there's a category called beta blockers, which slow down the heart rate. And so those actually could be beneficial for some patients with AFib as long as they don't have other reasons that they can't take beta blockers.
Let's end with the most important thing, which is getting people who are having a stroke rapidly into a medical center that can take care of them. Quickly, the symptoms that people should look out for.
Yeah, so the major symptoms they should watch out for are a weakness of one side of the body, speech problems, sudden onset of unexplained dizziness, facial droop. And so if you have any of those symptoms, especially if you're in the first, within 6 hours, it's best to go to the emergency room right away. But these days there have been breakthroughs so that even some patients can be treated within 24 hours of the stroke.
Very good. Dr. Chaturvedi, University of Maryland School of Medicine. Sir, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining us for Direct Connection. We're back Thursday with Your Money in Business. For all of us at MPT, thanks for watching and have a good night.
Your health segments are a co-production of Maryland Public Television and the University of Maryland Medical System.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.